So this is pretty much where the YCS London was held, and it was also the host of the Comic Con, which kind of lifted the mood for the YCS. This is Friday night outside of the event. Um, Inside the venue, we have giant match features, if you can call it that. So people could pretty much come from the Comic Con into the Yugioh event and then play with giant cards in a card game. It was actually a lot of fun watching, and yeah, I'll let you guys enjoy a scene of the event and some giant card duel before we head into the tournament report. Okay, so the YCS starts off with round one, which was me playing spellbooks against this guy playing Dragunity rulers on table 600 something something. And game one, it kind of starts off awful, so he takes that one, and in game two I win that pretty easy because of Rivalry of Warlords. So it's such a good card against Dragunity. It really is. And for game three, I look at my starting hand and was like, wow, this hand is amazing. But then I start seeing him make his plays, and he goes Ravine, pitch Phalanx, get the ducks, make starters, set 2 back rows, terraformings for another Ravine. And in my turn he flips Skill Drain and DNA Surgery, and I was like, wow, if my hand was good, he had a god-like hand. And even though I had Book and double MST for his back rows, so I couldn't get rid of the Stardust, and he did have the second field spell off the terraforming, so there was no real point. I couldn't ride out the advantage that he had. I lost that one. I was kind of sad that I lost round one, but yeah, shit happens. He started a lot better than me. Round two, I get a free win. I have an opponent that is a no-show. A lot of people had a no-show for the round 2 opponent, because a lot of people were just entering the tournament to play round 1 and get the wristband so you could enter the Comic-Con, and then they forget to drop. So a lot of people had no shows in round 2, and I was one of them. Then I just played another no-show guy for fun. It was a little kid, and he just wanted to play, so I told him, his mother, that I would just play him for fun. So it was all good. For round 3, I'm playing Dark Worlds, and I lose game 1. I had all spellbooks but no spellcasters, so, and I didn't have secrets, so yeah. Round 2, game 2 of round 3, I pretty much rule the board. I do what spellbook does best. It locks out the opponent of any place, and the same happened in game 3 of round 3. My opponent could just watch me recycle with tower and then fade all his plays, and he could watch my field grow with one magician at a time. I had a Kaiko locking out his field spell and his plays, so my Kaiko tower and set fade all the time with a magician coming each turn. So yeah, there wasn't much he could do. Round 4, I played a spellbook mirror match. Really nice guy. I 2-0'd him. Minor mistake in game 2, which none of us caught until 3 turns later. I accidentally activated Wisdom, calling spells on his Book of Moon on my Kaiko. And then also when he later on, when I declared an attack, he wanted to activate a trap. I called with my second Wisdom traps on my Kaiko, but none of us caught that my Kaiko was unaffected by spells by the first Wisdom, so the second Wisdom wouldn't have affected it. I still had a really good hand to his, so I beat him 2-0. For round 5, I played Yugioh, and that was one of the scariest matchup I have ever played. It was even more scary than Dragon Ruler is. He beats me game 1 fairly easy. I mean, I lost pretty much every game 1, and I lost. I started off losing die roll every time, and then later on I came back and won die rolls. So I guess it was 50-50 on the die rolls. But he crushes me game 1 because minor mistake that he forgets to inform me. I can't read his gear trap card, and he forgets to inform me that they also are increased by 1 level. And I lose to that because then he black roses me. And I thought they were level 7. So yeah, game 2 I come back, and game 3 Stumbling is putting in a little bit of work, so I don't get OTK'd. Not much, because he summons Bure in attack and it goes to defense, and then he uses Bure effect to switch it back to attack and attack me. But it prevented me from being OTK'd, and we get to that point where I have used all my spellbook magicians, the blue boy, and he top decks the Yugioh MK2 and brings back the Yugioh and sacks it off for Sizen. And then he goes into Black Rose and nukes the whole field. And each of us is at 0 cards on field and in hand. And he end phases, so I draw for turn and I set fate. And my life points are 29 to his 16. And he top decks another MK2 and goes into the Yugioh and synchros this time into a Bure. But he's run out of tuners, Karikuri monsters in the deck, so he can only poke me for 26. and then I still have 300 left. So I top deck for turn, and this time I top deck a Temperance. So I summon Temperance and use Fate on his Bure, and then I sack Temperance for World, getting back Secrets and Masters, and I attack him for game. He was an alright guy. I wouldn't say nice, but he was alright. He was a bit salty, and I can understand why, because I have used all my blue boys, and I still had breakers though and Temperance and stuff like that. Then for round 6, I played against a Dragon Ruler guy who was playing a Trooper version, which I really hate. I don't like, spellbooks don't like the Trooper versions, because Trooper puts a lot of pressure on you as a spellbook player. I would rather play Dragon Rulers when they don't play Trooper. But we have such a long game 1 that we go into 10 minutes of overtime with him having 2 cards left in his deck and I having like 11 cards left in my deck, and we have been grinding it out so far, and I'm ahead in life points by not really that much, and his 2 cards in deck is Korseska and Return, and so he goes to summon a title, and then which I banish with Fate, and he searches out Korseska and attacks over my blue boy for exactly a little more than I was in front of. So he wins that match with us not even finishing game 1. It was so bad. I mean, I hate not finishing a game. It was. I guess I should probably have scooped a lot earlier, because I knew I couldn't have grinded out that far with Dragon Ruler. So it's my own fault. I should probably have scooped a lot sooner. Last round of day 1 was round 7, and I 2-0'd a Dragunity guy. It was like crazy funny. Game 1 was pretty easy, and game 2 he was like 7-star sword for Tempest, get the Phalanx, summon Phalanx and tributes it for Mistletoe, and I'm like, oh, hold on, let me just pick up my cards, because I had my hand face down, I haven't even looked at it, and I was like, I sight the 1 crow and let me just look, and the second card in my hand was DD Crow, so I go DD Crow the Phalanx, and his Mistletoe is there on board, and then he sets 4, and I'm like, I start pretty well, so I had Breaker, Blue Boy, and a couple spells and a little traps, so I go set Rivalry of Warlords, locking out his play, and he flips Iron Wall on me, which really wasn't that bad, because I wasn't hurt by Iron Wall at all. In fact, he got more hurt by his own Iron Wall than I did, because he drew Gold Sock and Sacred Sword, and I could just pretty much wait until I got a monster like Priestess or anything that could go over, and because I had the Wisdoms and all that, so it wasn't even that. I 2-0'd that guy, and therefore finishing day 1 with an X2 record. Not the best, but because 4 more rounds on day 2 is like a mini locals, and I wouldn't think about it that much. So in day 2 for round 8, it must have been, I started off with playing against the Spellbook guy, in which I 2-1'd. He won game 2. He actually started off, and I just had the better hand, because I started the Magician Crescent, and it's how I think. And for game 2, he pretty much started off with double Temperance. He goes Temperance into Priestess, so I'm therefore telegraphing to me that he didn't play World. And then the next turn he goes into Temperance again, and go into Priestess, and then into a Dracosac. But in game 3, I pretty much won from there. It was kind of easy. He was a really nice guy. We actually knew what we both played. We knew it was gonna be a Spellbook mirror, because we were sitting across from each other, and at the end of day 1 at round 7, and he beat his matchup and I beat mine, so I knew I was playing against Spellbooks. Round 9, I'm playing this douchebag Italian guy. Fucking name, man, it was so fucking annoying. Game 1, he wins. And game 2, I declare an attack with Magician, because he has 500 left and he has no board except one back row. And then he goes flip return, bringing back every single dragon, 2 Tempest actually, and 1 of each other color in defense. And I flip my bottomless trap holes, and Magician's attack goes through for 500. Even he's at 250. I was kind of debating with myself if I was kind of hoping he wouldn't go into a Koseska in defense, like he would grab 1 of each color and then the 5th monster would be a Koseska, because if he had done that, then he wouldn't have lost. I did have bottomless and he lost every monster, so he lost that game too. For game 3, I started like, it was okay, and looks like he didn't start completely nuts after all, but we ended time, and he's ahead of me by 1400 life points or so, and it's my last turn. I have turn 4 and he has turn 5, and he searched off a debris dragon that he set along with his face-up defense redux, and I'm like, I can make plays, so I go Temperance, use cards, Tribute, and I look at my graveyard and I have 1 Priestess in graveyard, and I sided out 1 Priestess. I always sided out 1 Priestess. So I only had World left in my deck and was like, shit, I can't win with the World. Not this time. So I bring back World, and I bring back 2 spellbooks, Eternity and Secrets. And I'm like, shit, what the fuck do? I do have the Fate down, but... So I use power on World, so he goes to 39. And then I've spent like 2 minutes where he rushes me into making a play as soon, and we have 2 judges watching the game. So I decide that I remember that Fate can flip his monsters into face-up attack too. So I go Fate, banish 2 cards, banish 2 spellbooks from my graveyard, put his Debris Dragon in face-up attack, and then goes with 39 over his attack position Debris Dragon, putting me ahead with 17 or 18 life points. Really smart move, and then searching off Fate with the Spellbook of Power. So I set Fate and I set Mirror Force, and I end phase, and his Redux goes back to hand, and he has nothing but the Redux in hand. He top decks Book of Moon, and it is his last turn now. And I have a 29 World on board and a Spellbook Magician in defense. And he goes trying to shark me for cheating, and he tries to find something that I did wrong. He's like, oh, you summoned Priestess last turn, you couldn't summon World. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Priestess was like 7 turns ago and something like that. And the judges confirmed that they were watching the game. He was just trying to stall out and find something that I did wrong so he could get the win. He knew he had lost, but still, douchebag moves, and we spent like 10 minutes in overtime discussing until the head judge finally said, you know what, you lost. There was nothing, found anything wrong with what this guy did. So he lost, and he's finally signed the slip. And for round 10, I got my feature match against Rosa, the Italian guy. He was actually a really nice guy, so you guys should read the feature match. I will link it down below. And then for round 11, I played Jake McGee. The first time he actually made it to top 8, beating Jack Brun in the top 16. I can't say much. My deck kind of failed on me that match in round 11. I drew pretty awful. I'm not accusing him of anything, because he's pile shuffled in his way. Like, every player has their own way to pile shuffle the opponent's deck, and I did final cut it. Like, I final cut it and I riffled it into each other, you know, like you go like this, where I go into each other, and I did that like 3 times, so there was nothing there. I just drew awful. It was the time of the day where the deck just fails on you. Um, Game 1 I had Masters, Eternity, Fate, Tower, and Phoenix, Windblast, and World. And I set the Windblast, and he has the end phase MST for it, so... And in Game 2 I had Breaker, Wisdom, Eternity, Masters, and Tower, and like that. And it was like, okay, pass turn, and then he makes plays, and then I go Breaker, he tries to hit it, and I Wisdom it, and pop his other back row after attacking, and then play Tower, and he has Ravine to replace Tower, and then I'm kind of like, oh shit, now I have a dead hand again. So he won that within like 10 to 12 minutes, so I wasn't even mad, because the deck just failed on me. And like it does. It does that in so many rounds, your deck will fail on you some games. So I still was pretty happy that I beat my feature match 2-0. So that's actually how my tournament report was. And I do want to give a few shoutouts to some people that made the YCS a lot better. Also, the Comic-Con gave the YCS kind of like a boost. It boosted the YCS. That's not much more to say. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Swedish people, the Swedes, Jack Brun, Simon, and Leonard, and of course all the others made the day made the days a lot better. Shout out to Aaron for finally meeting him, and he was a really nice guy. Of course, I gotta give a shout out to Asian Kid, Sebastian Ong, and all the other Danish people that I travel with, and the Danish people that I don't often see as much as I do the others at local. They come from the other side of Denmark, so nice to see you guys there too, and it was such a good weekend. I think the YCS London was a huge success. The Comic-Con was amazing. Can't really say much more. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to most of my opponents. There was some douchebag ones in a while. I think like all in all, I think I had like 8-9 opponents. That was really nice, and I had some really great games. So yeah, that's pretty much my weekend for you guys, and until next time.